Welcome to the Christian Dad Podcast, your place for encouragement and practical tips on how to be a great dad. My name is James Pelicane, and I have a tremendous passion for seeing you win as a dad. Been married for 23 years, have 3 wonderful children, and I just want to pass on some of the things that I've learned to help you as a dad win. Please join us for today's content. I'm sure you'll get something out of it. Well, guys, today's subject is a little bit heavy. Sorry about that. As some of you know, my father passed away. It was a joyous celebration. I want to thank you so much for reaching out to me with your condolences and your thoughts and your prayers on behalf of myself and my family. Thank you very, very much. Learned a few things. The last time I dealt with a death this meaningful was several years ago when I was in 8th grade. One of my closest friends, Al Defano, passed away after several days in a coma. And it was pretty traumatic for me, to be honest with you. But anyway, I just have a few random thoughts that I just want to share with you. My first thought is a filter. I'm a big fan of having core values, because when you have core values, it actually filters your decision-making process. For example, in real estate, I have 3 core values: joyful service, others, and exceptional competence. That's Joe. Many, many times I'll ask myself, James, what would you do if this were your property? I find myself going back to the property. I just had this situation just happen to me where I went back to a property 2 times to check a heater. And I just asked the question, what would I do if this were my house? Well, if this were my house, I'll go back and check the heater because the inspector says it's broken, but it's actually working and I need to find out what's going on. So anyway, just having that filtering process. And one of the greatest filters that I thought was, what would I want if I were dying? I just kept on asking that question. What would I want if I were dying? To be frank with you, death is awkward. It's awkward. It's something that we don't experience on a regular basis, and we don't know how to deal with it. And to have this filtering question, I find, brings a lot of clarity. So it was probably the week or 2 weeks before my dad passed away, and my mom called me. I was planning to come out on Tuesday just because. My mom called. She said, sweetheart, your dad and I have COVID. Don't come. That was on a Sunday. And I canceled my trip. On Monday, I woke up and I was like, I'm going. And I thank God because I asked this question, what would I want if I were dying? And I decided if I were dying, I would want my kids to be there. That's what I would want. So I went. I rebooked my tickets for Tuesday. My sister helped me out with travel plans and different things like this in terms of getting from the airport and all that kind of stuff. I've found this to be true in my life, that whenever I extend myself to someone, whether it be a handshake, a note, a hello, a goodbye, the weight of doing something is far less than the weight of regret. So the filter, again, what would I want if I were dying? And along those lines, I think it needs to be said, it's a little bit of a stretch for you and your kids as you deal with death. You got to get your house in order. You do. As a realtor, I see people all the time that don't have their properties in trusts. I can't give you legal advice. There are certain things that are needed. There really are. Advanced medical directive, trust, a will, durable power of attorney, these types of things for people who have assets. These are necessities. They really are. Again, I can't give you legal advice. Please put on your big boy pants, talk to an attorney, and see what's appropriate for you and your family. I had a client a few years ago. They were in their late 80s, and they said, James, it's time to move. I was like, okay. They lived in a single-story house. It seemed like they had everything all figured out. And they decided that it was time for them to move into into more of a senior facility. And I just watched them, and I realized, wow, they really modeled to me. Like they were healthy, they were strong, but they had the strength to do the move. And they did it before they needed the help. So I just watched them and was like, wow, they were really, really wise in their execution of this. So I just want to encourage you as much as you can. Ask that filtering question, what would I do? What would I want if I were dying? And then along those lines, you can make preparations. You can be there for your family. My second thought is you don't have to be eloquent. You just have to be there. So a long time ago, we were losing a child in utero. They had some kind of a chromosomal something. The baby was going to die, but the baby was still living. And we didn't feel at liberty to abort the baby. And it was a really rough time for my wife and myself. And I had a friend of mine who was a physician, Dr. Tim Dresselhaus. He called me up every single day. We didn't have anything to talk to. He still called me every day. Just check it in. Just check it in. And I'm very touched by his love and his thoughtfulness and just being there. And I just love that idea that you don't have to be eloquent. You just have to be there. So just be there. Along these lines also, I think it's appropriate not to be a puddle if possible. There'll be plenty of opportunities for tears and to cry. And I'm talking about when you're helping someone else out with their going through death. As much as possible, be helpful. My mom said to me before I would even see my father, she'd go, make sure you shave your father. Okay, Mom, I'll shave Dad. So, and I found it, to be very honest with you, I found it to be awkward, and I found it to be, I don't know, healing is the wrong word, but it was good. It was good. It was good. It gave my dad dignity. My dad always shaved every single day of his life, and now he wasn't able to do that, and I was, putting in the pieces and not just being there. I was trying to be helpful. And granted, now what I'm sharing with you, any truth carried to an extreme can become an error. There's some people that are too helpful. We see Martha and Mary in the Bible. Martha was doing too much. So you do see, or Mary was doing too much, excuse me. You see this happening. So as much as you can help out, make a contribution, but at the same time, sometimes you just need to be, and that's all good. It's wonderful, actually. Next thought is really heavy, and I don't mean to put a guilt trip on anybody, but the Bible is pretty clear, and I believe it's Timothy or Thessalonians, where it says that if you don't provide for your own, you're worse than an unbeliever. And what that's referring to is not your children, it's referring to your parents, if you read that in context. So I don't want to put a guilt trip on anyone. We all have limited means and assets. Again, any truth carried to an extreme becomes an error. But I do want to say we have a responsibility to our parents to help them. We do. I think that's pretty powerful, actually. And there's a tremendous blessing. There's tremendous blessing in embracing that responsibility. There really is. The next point goes right along with that, is that God makes the back for the burden. Is that for some of us, it's hard. For some of us, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. Forgive me, I have my mom's emotions. What can I tell you? And God makes the back for the burden. God will strengthen us with His Spirit so that we can not just be a puddle. We can be the strength that is needed when appropriate for others. And then God will help us deal with our loss. The last point that I have for you is talk to your kids about death. This is beautiful. The Bible talks about it all the time. We are just passing through. This is temporary. Our tents are perishing day by day, but our inward man is being renewed. We're pilgrims. We're sojourners here, and our future destination, thank God, is not here. Our kingdom is not Republican or Democrat. Our kingdom is the kingdom of God. It's wonderful. We pray that thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And I think it's really appropriate to have this conversation, age appropriate, with our kids. I do. Tell them that, we're passing through. It's appropriate that we realize that death is a part of life. It's a frustrating part of life, but it is a part of life. It's the last enemy that will be abolished. But it needs to be communicated to our kids so that when it does happen, it doesn't necessarily rock them. They kind of anticipate, okay, this is a part of life. It's fascinating to me. In the Bible, we see Jacob deceiving his dad, Isaac. And then later, in a few chapters, we see Jacob being deceived by his 12 sons, or really his 11 sons, deceiving him regarding Joseph. And there's a very, very powerful principle that what we do, some people call it karma. As a Christian, I don't believe in karma. But, give and it shall be given back to you. And the truth of the matter is that our families are watching us, how we respond to our parents and how we deal with them. And the weird thing about it is what we sow is what we're going to reap. I am painfully aware of how my kids are becoming mini versions of me, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I used to say some things are caught and some things are taught. I think that is totally inaccurate. I realize that most things are caught and some things are taught. With my son, it's incredible to watch him. It really is. Recently, he decided to do this YouTube fast. Wow, that's pretty interesting. He decided to sponsor a kid. Wow. It just happened to be that I was actually doing a social media fast. It just so happened to be that I sponsor a bunch of kids. It's just a very, very powerful dynamic. So I just want to encourage you guys, as you're dealing with death, just see it from another perspective. See it as a gift that you're going to give to your children on how to do life or how to do death. Because my hunch is pretty strong, is what you sow, you shall also reap. I know it's a pretty heavy subject today, guys. Sorry about that. I just wanted to get these things off my chest. Thank you so much for bearing with me, and I trust that God will strengthen you as you're dealing with the death, and you'll be the adult and the mature Christian that you really, really are. God bless you, and thank you again. Bye-bye.